Hey Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, I'm doing great on this Tuesday afternoon. How are you, sir?
Doing good, thanks.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, listen, we got some interesting news. What's happening? I want to touch on some current events. What's going on with Helene up in you know, basically the western section of North Carolina, the Asheville Boone region. So if we can pull that up, this is something that came up from CNN. It was yesterday. Some FEMA operations paused in North Carolina after reports that National Guard troops saw armed militia threatening them. Aid to several communities impacted by Hurricane Helene was temporarily paused parts of North Carolina over the weekend due to the reports of threats against Federal Emergency Management Agency, aka FEMA, responders amid a backdrop of misinformation about responses to recent storms. So, my take on this, because I do know some people that are up there from the Greenville, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina area that's been helping out. There's also a lot of stuff you're going to find on YouTube. I mean, there's hundreds, if not, a couple of thousand different posts from people living up there. So for them to say, the National Guard troops saw armed militia threatening them, this is a National Guard. They're armed themselves. So usually, a National Guard is from that state in North Carolina. I really wouldn't put too much of an emphasis on this. I really think what it is FEMA's saying this to cover their ass because they can't get shit done. That's what I think it is, in all honesty, because they've done a piss poor job, but they've done a hell of a job bringing all those illegal immigrants in and using the FEMA money to, basically pad them with four-star hotels and, credit cards and money and free cell phones. But we're not taking care of our own people. Don't mean to beat a dead horse, but this is disgusting what's happening up there in our own country to our own citizens. And they're only offering them $750. Not all of them. That's for a household. So if you had five people in your household, that's not five people getting 750. It's one person for the whole household. And FEMA's even turning some of them down, which is ridiculous. Your thoughts, Jonathan?
I mean, the $750 payment out, that's something that we should really dig deeper because uh, I heard Joe Biden last week, President Joe Biden last week, say that that was not true. It's simply not true. So I think is what he said. So
Mm-hmm.
that might be something. Let's go in. Maybe we'll try and do it on another quarter. Let's do a little digging and see where that's coming from. But if that's true, I mean, I heard the same amount of money for the people in Maui when they had the fires that's what they were getting. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where this number comes out of and how it works, but people are in disarray. They lost their homes, they lost life. Any reason for FEMA or anyone to delay the aid is a disgusting act. Um, it just shows you the kind of people we have in charge, and it shows you the potential people that are around. I mean, it's not anything, anyone, whether you're left, right, whatever it may be. Everyone should be in here to help Americans and Americans first.
Yeah, Jonathan, they actually have what's it's regular Americans that are helping up in that area. People from like Virginia, South Carolina, even the other side of North Carolina and parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma. They're coming in with their, Cessna planes. They're coming in with their helicopters, and you pretty much have the Appalachian Air Force and their hillbilly helicopters, but they're helping out their own people. And FEMA tried to stop them because, oh, this is an FAA regulator and everything else. Hey, listen, shit's happened, man. You got to put all regulations to the side. You got to help people. And that's really the bottom line. You got to dive in there. And I can't understand why FEMA can't get like huge tents up there, to shelter these people because it is a mess up there. It's literally going to take over a year to, clean up some of these towns, if not longer. They're saying portion of I-40, Interstate 40, which got washed out in Tennessee near the North Carolina border. It's one of the I think it's the eastbound lane. That's going to take they said probably about 5 months to get it up and going again. This is our infrastructure, so things need to be done. Anything you'd like to add to this story, Jonathan?
I just meant I know they were talking on the news that it's getting colder in the area, so that's right. I mean, time is of the essence. We shouldn't be delaying these people with the help that they need, and it's just unfortunate. I mean, I'd hope that they would have a solution and do it quick so all the
Yeah.
people can get helped out.
Yeah, I mean, even Elon Musk, he actually, took Starlink up there, and they were trying to stop the helicopters from bringing, internet communications to these people. So it's like ludicrous, but you're right, it is getting colder. It dropped into the 40s here near the Augusta area last night. So, I'm still a good 100 and probably 40 miles away from Asheville, Boone region. So, they're definitely getting a little bit cold. They're probably hitting close to high 30s there. Anyway, let's go to the next story. And this happened again. This is from CNN. The Nobel Prize in Economics was awarded to a trio for explaining why some nations are rich and others poor. Now, when you read this article, even myself, I say, hey, this is a little bit of common sense, but I can understand where these gentlemen are coming from. And there's one gentleman, excuse if I mispronounced his last name, Darren at Ace Magula, Simon Johnson, and James Robinson will share the prize, which carries a cash award of $1 million. The Nobel Committee praised the trio for explaining why, quote, societies with the poor rule of law and institutions that exploit the population do not generate growth or change for the better, unquote. When Europeans colonized large parts of the globe, the institution in those societies changed, the committee had said, citing the economists' work. While in many places this was aimed at exploiting the indigenous population in other places, if it laid the foundations in exclusive political and economic systems. You know what? It sounds a little bit woke, but I understand because, when countries like Spain and Portugal went into South America and colonized it, you did have the Aztecs, everything. They did exploit those people. And they exploited the minerals. But, you're talking the, 15, 1600s, 1700s. And, we're a lot further from that point. And I'd like to bring things up to date today where, you're looking at the Western world, the United States and Europe. And, we had such an industrial revolution in this country. And then World War II, right after World War II, was the biggest growth of the middle class in the United States. And that went on, through like the 80s. And then, things started to change in the 90s. And we've seen the decline of the middle class since then. And everybody's feeling the squeeze most recently with inflation and everything else. So, your thoughts on this article on these economists, Jonathan?
I mean, I get what you're saying, your opinion on how it potentially could be looked at as woke, but I mean, listen, countries in general right now, there are countries that have the most resources underground than a lot of other countries, and they a lot of them just don't have the knowledge or the infrastructure to figure out how to, make something out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of things. I think about Africa a lot. I think about
Mm-hmm.
they had all the different like the diamonds, the gold, whatever it may have been, and it's always these big multinational corporations that come in. They released a lot of times they're leasing the land. They give some of the money back to the government to the country, but you never know where it's going. A lot of these countries, there's a few very very rich people, and everyone else is very poor. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the companies like De Beers. De Beers is huge in Africa, getting the diamonds in and out, or just out actually. But what a lot of these companies did is they had these mining companies. They pulled the raw minerals out. They pay like permit fees or whatever it may be. In diamonds, there are certain certificates that you need to get, so they're not blood diamonds or whatever the case may
Yes.
be, and they're pulled out. But it it's to a point it's true though. I mean, there's a lot of resources in other countries, and you can tell how a lot of other countries are they're not given the opportunity. They don't know the opportunity exists. And some
Mm-hmm.
countries, like our country, like America, Americans are trying to make something out of it. They go elsewhere because it's so difficult here. I guess they go elsewhere and try and pull stuff out of other countries. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's just there's a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot of opportunity in our country. Um, it just takes a motivated person to want to make money and be profitable, be, figure
Yeah,
out.
well, that's getting a little bit off the rails of what these economists point out, but I understand where you're coming from. But one point you did bring up, you look at countries like, nations of Africa, okay, nations of South America. A lot of people are not aware that China is building a huge infrastructure in in South America, in Brazil, in Colombia, in Chile. They're building rails and communication systems. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart, because they are going to take advantage of the natural resources in those countries. I know Chile, for instance, I forgot exactly where, but it's a high altitude desert in Chile that actually has one of the largest lithium baskets to be harvested, so who's actually taking advantage of that? I had read an article a couple of years ago. It was China doing that. So they get in bed with these poor nations, and that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, the United States has done the same thing over the decades, and and probably the worst country of all of them is Britain. The United Kingdom has really taken advantage for a few hundred years against countries. They did the heroin trade. Matter of fact, the Forbes family, all right, Malcolm Forbes, which was Steve Forbes' dad. But if you look into the Forbes family, they actually had the heroin trade going, and they became multi millionaires, in the 1800s from China to the United Kingdom. And that's how the Forbes family put themselves on the map. And if anybody has the time, look at the family tree of the Forbes family. You'd be very surprised who's related to who. Matter of fact, Senator John Kerry, his mother is actually related to the Forbes family itself. So that stems from that heroin trade. Anyway, one of the things that actually pointed out in this article to me, the authors warned that the current path of AI is neither good for the economy nor for democracy. Your thoughts on that, John? Because we've touched upon that in a couple of different podcasts over the last 8 months.
I mean, AI has. I mean, I over the weekend I was looking at a lot of new things that Elon Musk is putting out there. I'm not sure if you've seen them, like
Mhm.
the cabs and the buses, and I mean just the robots in general. The only thing that I wonder now is that if you had AI, all these advanced technologies taking over jobs that people are doing, what are the people going to be doing? Where are they going to
Mhm.
be placed? Where are those jobs going? Are there going to be
Mhm.
enough jobs? That would be, a big concern. I mean, listen, as far as, is AI good? It could be used for a lot of great things. How it's
Mhm.
used. I mean, I guess you think about any people that have bad ideas to use it for bad things. That's a terrible, terrible part because they'll be able to advance themselves quickly. But
Mhm.
listen, I think if you're out there, there's just so many things that it does that it saves you a lot of time, which otherwise you may have not done right. You may have had to pay someone to do it. So when you're looking at it from this point of view, I think it has a lot of great impacts for the economy. You're going to be able to be more efficient. I get concerned, where will those jobs go then? So maybe you don't need content writers, maybe you don't need coders, maybe you don't need. I mean, AI can literally do almost anything. So
I think what AI is going to do, listen, there's good and bad in everything. Okay, if we
yeah.
look throughout the centuries of how technology advanced itself from the Industrial Revolution, different machines from manual, et cetera. Um, it's how we feed AI, because the more you feed AI, the more it's going to get smarter. It's kind of like a quantum computer that they've been working on. The more the correct answers it's going to get, the more challenging it's going to be. It kind of reminds me of when I was a teenager. There was a movie called War Games with Matthew Broderick, and it was basically a chess game being played by the computer. But the more it got fed, the more dangerous it got. And that's over 40 years ago when that movie came out. I think it might have been 82 or 83. But, it depends how they're going to feed AI. I think agricultural wise, I think AI can be great, doing agriculture stuff in the lands within this nation, other nations to grow things, So it can make things easier, like you said, 100%. But I guess it's how it's going to be used. If it's going to be used correctly for humanity, and also to help grow jobs in other directions. Take away like maybe the slack of some AI will do that, but then you can actually train people to do other things that'll make things more, sufficient and more balanced. Your final thoughts on it, Jonathan?
Will be very, like you mentioned, a lot of good points. The who feeds it, that's going to be the part that's it's scary, because if the person's feeding it doesn't think the right way, um, that could be an issue because it's spitting
Mm-hmm.
out ideas and whatever it may be. So I think the piece about how is it learning is really
Mm-hmm.
important.
Mm-hmm.
It's machine learning technology. That's what it is. It's gonna advance and do better. And you can literally use it in anything, it seems like.
Oh,
So
100%.
we
100%.
we will see. Maybe they're already using robots for doing surgeries and all that. So
Yeah,
I think it has a huge impact. You just have to use it the right way and it has to be fed the right information. But
correct. Correct.
um, we'll see.
Let's jump into something that we had spoken about a few weeks ago in regards to Boeing. All right. And this is from Investatopia.com. Boeing plans 17,000 job cuts as CEO Otterberg shakes up plane maker. All right. Shares fell early Monday after a troubled plane maker announced a slew of cost-cutting measures and billions of dollars of upcoming charges, among the most radical measures by the CEO, Kelly Arberg. Now, we're talking 17,000 jobs, which is probably about 10% of their workforce. Now, Boeing's not only a plane maker, they're a military contractor for the United States. So this is very important, these jobs. We're coming into what you and I have discussed, tough times, I think, in 2025, no matter who's going to inherit, the White House. This is just going to add to the problems, the way we're looking at it. But this is all over a dispute of certain things the union wants. One of the main things is a pension. And I think Boeing should, stick to the pension plan. You don't screw people. If you want to grandfather, the current people in, that's fine. If you want to start something new, but that's going to be up to the union leaders and the management to come out to that. But your thoughts on Boeing laying off 17,000 people, Jonathan?
Huge impact, right? I mean, we've talked about we've used the words the ripple effect a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So this has multiple ripples, right? It affects the individual who then has, mortgage, rent, family. It affects
It's also going to affect their suppliers, because they're going to postpone the launch of its
yeah.
777 jetliner.
Well,
So
yeah.
yeah, so
So on
that's
the
the other part. It's a domino effect, a real
yeah,
domino effect,
on both
and then it
sides.
starts hurting people's personal, finances as you're starting to state. Continue.
Besides the personal, like I was going to say, the it's going to affect the business part. So any of the ripple effects that happen afterwards, that these aren't going to be made, or these people that normally would do business with them aren't going to be doing as much business with them. So it has a lot of effects. Um, those jobs matter. Yeah, at times where, negotiating, coming to the table, making things right for everyone. These are things
Mhm.
that, have to be thought about before you do major impactful things like that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I, I
um,
think I
yeah,
think this is a candle burning at both ends. It's a double-edged sword. It's like a catch-22 for the
yep,
union and also for the management. And I know it's a publicly held company, so they're also looking at the margins for their stockholders. But I think we have to look, if I was management and I have to be fair, I got to look at the true landscape for everybody overall, and I can't be greedy about it. So hopefully, you know, corporate heads will, prevail and realize let's be fair to this and not be greedy. Um,
yep.
so yesterday we got news that Kamala Harris, okay, this is from the New York Post, is going to sit down for Fox News interview with Brett Baer just 3 weeks ahead of the election day. Now today, is the 15th of October. So we're 3 weeks away from November 5th, election day. I'm not a big fan of Bear. He's kind of like a rhino. Trump scolded him over a year ago, and you know, kind of like he's not a fair journalist. I don't know if this is going to be a softball interview. I'm curious to watch it and see what happens, but I really don't have too much faith in Brett Baer doing the right thing as a journalist. Your thoughts, Jonathan?
mean, I think it shows that she's really trying to figure out how to get in front of the right people before it's too late, if it's not already too late.
And I think
Um,
she's desperate. She's
yeah,
desperate at this point to go on Fox News because just well as I do, beginning of September or the end of August, she turned down doing a debate with Trump on Fox News.
I think,
So
yeah, well, I think it's funny because Trump doesn't want to do anything like this because, these debates or anything, because they make no sense, like we talked about last week.
mhm.
But I would tend to think that they're going to be favorable to her. But at this point, I don't think she has much to lose not to do it. Get all the publicity she can get in front of the people that are not knowing what to go with and where to go.
Mhm.
She's probably hoping she can sway people her way, which it might be good for her if especially if Brett doesn't give her the tough questions. I mean, the people
It's
need to know. They need to know where these candidates stand, right?
Mhm.
That's that's the part that's frustrating for all of us Americans that are trying to figure out like where do each candidate sits? Where do they want to do?
Well,
What
I
are they going to
think,
do?
listen, I think it's already settled, and we spoke about it Friday. You know what you're getting in Trump. Okay. You know what you're getting. We had him for 4 years. The economy was good. We didn't have any wars. Everything was in a growth spurt. People were making more money. Household incomes were at the highest ever in 2019 they ever been in the United States. So it's really her side of the fence. She has to set course and give us a compass of what direction and what is she going to do. That's what she has to say. Um, she was on the View last week and we spoke about it. You've been in the Biden administration 3.5 years. Would you have changed anything? And she's like, no, no. So you know what? What are you going to get? Joe Biden 2.0 now on steroids with Kamala for the next 4 years? I mean, that's the answer she's kind of given, when she said that.
Thinking that if Joe can beat Trump, that she should be able to beat Trump as well. But I think Joe is a better president than she would be. And it's funny to even say that, but um, I don't think she's the right fit. I don't know if she ever would be the right fit, but listen, I think she's just trying to get the last piece of the picture of what she wants people to think of her. I don't know about you, but I've noticed like gas prices across the board have gone down significantly the last few weeks. So,
Mhm.
it can't be a coincidence. The election's right around the corner. The gas
Of
is
course.
below $3 now. Um, so it's all games. I'll tell you, it's all real games when you look at it.
Bingo. Bingo. Yep. It's a game. It's a big, big game. And hey, listen, I mean, I know before we got started this podcast in November, how I was being informed and stuff like that. I'm pretty well versed, but I can see how you've changed in the sense of like you're versing yourself now from the time we started this podcast till today, and you're having a different insight of things, which is good, which is very good, And I think you'll agree with me, right?
I think you know what it is. I think when you don't really talk things out, you just keep
Mhm.
them in your head. When you actually hear yourself say them, it starts changing how things are in your head and in your person. So, yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
think this is a very healthy thing to do and speak out what you think. People may not agree or think, or people have comments, feedback. That's great. We're doing something to help anyone and everyone out there that wants to be helped.
Listen, one thing people better start getting very, very, they have to have conviction. You have to have conviction towards the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
You have to have conviction to your nation. Because you know what? These sons of bitches are looking to change things. They're looking to bring in Marxism into this country. Look what they've done to the education system in a few years. teaching kids all about this wokeness shit in pre-K, kindergarten. I mean, are you out of your fucking minds? I mean, that's criminal. You're teaching kids pedophilia, and that's what you're doing. You know, sorry I had to beat around the bush with that comment, but it's the damn truth of it. That's the whole thing. I mean, they need to be taken out and beating the shit out of them for doing that to a child. Because if you're going to do that to my kid, I'm going to kick your ass, and that's going to be the bottom line. You're going to have to call a tow truck service to remove my foot from your ass. Go ahead.
I mean, listen, the schools have got to be a safe place in all regards, right? The moment it's not safe is the moment it's a big issue. So, um, it should not be, and they're doing it all over the place. It should not be like that. It should be always a place that you know that you're going to be safe from all pieces of, physical, verbal, mental, any of it. And at this point, everything is not.
Yeah, it's true. Well, listen, you know what? It came out over the weekend that Trump's going to do Rogan before the election, and I heard this morning Kamala's people have reached out to Rogan's people. Not sure how true that is, but that'll be interesting if she goes on Rogan. I hope Rogan doesn't hold any punches. And Rogan ain't going to talk for just 15 minutes. That boy sits down for 2 or 3 hours. Now I know Trump can have a long conversation, but Kamala unscripted, I highly doubt it. And when it comes to unscripted, this podcast, we never script anything. We just, I pick the topics, the articles, I send them over to Jonathan. Once we go cameras rolling, we go on live. It's off the top of our heads and we're talking from the heart, and that's what it comes down to. Anyway, want to thank everybody. Please share this. Thumbs up, like it, subscribe. You guys have a great day. We'll see you on Friday. Take care.
You hear, guys.